You are now listening to the Outsider Sports Show right here on The Hog, the most comprehensive and hard-hitting sports hour on radio today. And now, coming at you with their unabashed sports magnetism, here are your hosts, Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger.
Welcome, everyone, to the Outsider Sports Show right here on The Hog. Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger joining you as always. Such a big weekend in sports, Noah. We've got our 9-0 Chiefs getting ready to take on the 8-1 Broncos. We're going to be talking college basketball with ESPN's Seth Greenberg and a lot of college football and NFL. Noah, we've got your back right here on the Outsider Sports Show.
That's right, we sure do, Clint. Peyton Manning didn't practice this week. He's got the bum sprained ankles. It's going to be interesting to see how he comes out, how he performs with Justin Houston and Tamba Hali breathing down his neck.
What a big test for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we can't wait to get into this later. We're going to have former Broncos receiver Rod Smith talking about this game with us. And MilesHighSports.com's James Merilatt will also be joining us. We're going to go venture into enemy realms, Noah, talking with these Broncos people. We want to get their take. We want to know what they think about this game. Rod Smith, what a great player he was for those Denver Broncos. We're going to be bringing him on, and I bet I know who he's going to predict to win this game. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we'll disagree. But Noah, can you believe it? College basketball is in the air. It has started. The weather's cold. It's time to turn the heat up in those gyms. The hardwood is on. College basketball is up and ready to roll, and we have seen some already some big games, man. We've seen Kansas and Duke. Kansas taking down those Duke Blue Devils. Andrew Wiggins, very impressive. Also, Jabari Parker for the Duke Blue Devils. Michigan State and Kentucky. Two huge games to start off this year, man. I'm ready to go with the basketball.
Oh, me too. I mean, usually I let it kind of come in a little bit, but with these two big games, I'm right there on the couch watching Julius Randle for Kentucky and Michigan State run up and down the court. Tom Izzo gets the win over John Calipari, but watch out for those Kentucky Wildcats. They put up a good fight, barely lost that game. They're definitely going to be somebody to watch out for when the tournament rolls around.
The thing about these games, you saw Kansas beat Duke, and you, of course, talked about Michigan State beating Kentucky. 4 top 5 teams right off the gate. Boom. And guess what? Those teams are going to be better for having played those games. Those losses aren't going to hurt them when it comes tournament time and it comes resume time. Those are 4 really good teams. Kentucky's not going to feel that loss. Duke's not going to feel that loss. But for Kansas, it was a big win for them. And, of course, we're here in that area. A lot of Kansas basketball fans probably listening. Be very excited about the team you had. Not only Andrew Wiggins, but I am very impressed with the way Nadir Tharp is running that offense. I like Wayne Selden to maybe even be a better player than Wiggins as the season goes on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I really like Wiggins. Got a really quick first step, can get up and dunk with the best of them. And Perry Ellis stepped out, shot a 3, really dominated down low, got a lot of boards. So Kansas looks like a well-rounded team. I hate to say it, but they do. We're
going to be talking a lot of college basketball with Seth Greenberg coming up after the break. A lot of college basketball, talking about the Missouri Tigers, Gonzaga Bulldogs, everything in the world of college basketball. We are going to be talking with Coach Greenberg about that. Of course, the former coach for the Virginia Tech Hokies, now an ESPN analyst, and just a wonderful job he does for ESPN, and cannot wait to have him on talking some college hoops.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I watched him back when he was with Virginia Tech. Gonzaga faced him a couple times throughout the years, and I always respected him as a coach, how hard he coached, and always yelling to the refs, trying to get the calls for his team down the stretch. And I absolutely enjoy him on ESPN and the college basketball as an analyst, and he picked Gonzaga last year for the Final Four. It didn't work out like it never does for my Gonzaga Bulldogs, but maybe this year we can make a run.
Hey, I can hear you. Trust me, as a Missouri fan, I know all about not being able to get to Final Fours, and we'll talk about Coach Haith's Tigers coming up with Seth Greenberg. And before we do that, we have to talk some college football. Of course, the Missouri Tigers have a bye week this week coming off a thrashing of the Kentucky Wildcats. Noah, Missouri finds themselves in a situation, 2 wins, SEC East champs. Maybe 1 win in SEC East champs, because Auburn and Georgia, that's going to be a huge game, Missouri fans. Be sure to watch that, because if Georgia is able to beat Auburn and pull that upset and beat Kentucky the week after, that's going to cause a 3-way tie with Missouri, South Carolina, and Georgia. And that's if should Missouri drop one of its final 2, that would put Missouri, Georgia, and South Carolina all 6-2. Missouri would win that tiebreaker, so keep your eye on that, because South Carolina is not losing to Florida. I can tell you that right now.
No, that's definitely not going to happen. South Carolina is going to take care of business. I like Missouri to take care of business versus Ole Miss. Texas A&M, that's going to be a barn burner. That's going to be a real interesting game for this SEC East.
Well, and as the SEC plays out, we saw Alabama just do what Alabama has been doing under Nick Saban, which is demolish people, play their game, take their game to the opponent, and Alabama did that against LSU, 38-17 winners over the LSU Tigers, a very good team from the SEC West. Alabama has all but locked up the SEC West. They'll, of course, have to play Auburn. It's going to be a tough test. That's a top 10 team, but right now Alabama just looks unbeatable.
Yeah, Alabama dictates to the opposing team, to an LSU, whoever it may be, and you've seen where they've had problems against Texas A&M and Johnny Manziel, that Johnny dictates the game to Alabama, and they got to play and kind of scramble and play a game that Johnny Manziel wants to play instead of making Johnny Manziel play how Alabama wants to play the game. As far as this Auburn-Georgia game you're talking about, I kind of like Georgia to come up with the upset.
They're getting healthy.
Yes, Todd Gurley coming back is really huge for them. Maybe the best back in the country right now, and I see them giving that a good go and possibly taking down Auburn.
Well, and a lot of people have been talking about as the SEC down as a conference. I say no. There are 7 SEC teams in that top 25. I'll tell you what, I think that this is still the dominant league, in the BCS, and I think it's going to play out. Once the BCS plays out, you're going to see, I think right now it looks to me like it's going to be Alabama and Florida State. That could certainly change. We've seen shakeups. We've seen Oregon go down. We've seen an undefeated Baylor team right now. And I guess the question is, we talk about 2 undefeateds that could be in trouble. Baylor and Ohio State. They're not jumping Ohio State or they're not jumping Florida State or Alabama. Ohio State and Baylor, they could get left out in the cold.
Yeah, they definitely, it looks like they will. I mean, it looks like Florida State and Alabama will win out. Still a lot of football to be played. Still could see some upsets or whatever, but I look for Florida State and Alabama in the national championship game unless something amazing happens. They slip up along the line, and then you could get an Ohio State in there. I'm not sure if Baylor could even make it with a one-loss Alabama.
Okay, you've seen the Missouri Tigers sitting on a bye week, the 9th-ranked team in the country right now, coming off a win where we saw James Franklin get in the game a little bit at the end. Matty Mock ties a school record for 5 touchdown passes in that game against Kentucky. Kentucky is awful. There's nothing really to take from that. They're not an SEC team. It's the equivalent of playing about Iowa State, okay?
Or maybe a Big Sky opponent like Northern Arizona.
Well, I like that comparison as well. But Missouri's got a bye week, and then they're going to go play at Ole Miss, and then they're going to play Texas A&M at home. Missouri, it could very well be 2 wins in an SEC title, SEC East title. Do they get it? Can they win these 2 games?
I think it's going to come down to the tiebreaker. I think they beat Ole Miss. I think they lose to Texas A&M, and I think tiebreaker gets them into the game and the SEC championship game against Alabama, and let the best team win, which let Alabama win.
Well, okay, absolutely. But for Missouri, let me ask you this: is it a better case scenario for the Tigers to get to that SEC championship game and lose and get beat by Alabama, and that would make Missouri 11-2, or to lose one of these final 2 games and be an at-large BCS team? What's the better case scenario for Missouri? If they lose to Ole Miss or A&M, finish 10-2, and say South Carolina gets to go to that SEC title game and gets thumped by Alabama, well, Missouri could be right in line for an at-large bid to maybe the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl. Would that be a better case scenario for Missouri, to just avoid Alabama altogether?
I'm scary to say. I think it is. I mean, if you make that BCS at-large bid, then everybody's going to be watching those bowl games, especially the BCS games, and I think that helps recruiting, and that'll help you down the road. If you go to the SEC championship game and get thumped by Alabama and don't get in a BCS at-large bid, then that could hurt your recruiting down the line.
Guys, we got to go to a break. We're going to get ready to talk some college basketball with Seth Greenberg from ESPN. When we come back, be sure to join us right here on The Hog after the break. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show right here on The Hog, KKES-FM, being joined currently by Seth Greenberg. He is our college basketball ESPN analyst. Coach Greenberg, something tells me your life just got a little busier here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a great time of the year. If you're a basketball jockey, it doesn't get better than this. It doesn't get better than the way we started the season. So it's a great precursor to what's going to be a very, very exciting college basketball season.
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts, being a former Virginia Tech head basketball coach. The AD is going to step down at the end of this month, Jim Weaver. I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on him and your thoughts about him stepping down at the end of this month.
Don't have any thoughts about Jim Weaver. You can move on from there.
Okay, well, Coach, I'll tell you what, we had some big games this week. Do you ever remember a time where there were bigger games to start a season? We had Of course, Kansas and Duke and Michigan State and Kentucky. My gosh, what a way to start a season, right?
Yeah, it was a great start to the season. And to me, the whole concept of the Champions Classic Marathon, the tip-off marathon, it doesn't get any better than that. Great games. VCU, Virginia, Florida against Wisconsin. I had a Stanford BYU game that, I thought BYU was as exciting a basketball team as I've seen in a long, long time. Really a mature physical basketball team, exciting point guard Matt Carlino. So, the champions was just, off the charts. You're talking about, 3 freshmen that could go 1, 2, 3 in the draft. And, college basketball is really healthy this year. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's really healthy.
We already saw a lot of these new, some of the new officiating quirks that were going to come in. The hand checking, we saw that already coming into being a factor. How do you feel about that? And also, how do you feel about the fact that there's, if you see a charge this season, you better write down the date and time, because I don't think there's going to be many of those. How do you feel about some of these new rule changes?
I saw a couple charges in that BYU Stanford game, but I think coaches are going to adjust. Everyone talks about the new officiating rules. They're basically the point of emphasis that are being officiated. But you think about one of the most aggressive physical teams in all college basketball. You'd say Michigan State. You think about one of the most aggressive, athletic, quick attacking teams in college basketball. You think of Louisville. Well, the last 2 days they committed 12 and 14 fouls in a game. Here's the deal. Players, coaches are going to have to adjust. If that's the rule, that's the rule. So different than palming or any other rules. So, it's different. We're going to have to adjust. Watching a lot of free throws is not fun. But if I'm a good player, all right, and I want to stay in the game, I'm going to move my feet. I'm not going to use my arm bar. If I'm a smart coach, all right, I'm not going to put my players in position to commit foolish fouls. So, I might have to guard ball screens differently. I might have to switch more, string them out. I might have to guard stagger screens more. I might have to, extend them and open up and go ball side. So, I think coaches and players will adjust in time. And let's see if scoring goes up.
What did you think about the 3 freshmen on Tuesday night, Jabari Parker, Andrew Wiggins, and Julius Randle? What did you see in their games?
Well, I was in Kentucky last week. I saw Julius in their exhibition game. You're talking about that guy is, big, physical, strong guy with great quickness, can finish around the basket, who's trying to, improve his perimeter game, make shots, hard to keep off the glass. Andrew Wiggins is just so explosive, so quick. His first and second jump, his ability, his first step. He's shooting the ball better than I thought he would. And I think he's going to be a ridiculous defensive player before the end of the year. And then, you're talking about Jabari Parker, a total package guy. He puts it on the floor, got good footwork, he's got the Euro step, shoots it with good range, and he's kind of a hybrid, basketball player. I think the key word for Duke is versatility. But the games played out the way I thought they'd play out. Kansas dominated on the glass. Michigan State attacked them in transition. I was surprised Adrian Payne got in foul trouble, but Michigan State's a team. You think about this: they only committed 7 turnovers, 17 assists. That's a pretty good formula for winning.
Absolutely. Usually it takes Tom Izzo a little while to get his team through the grind, ready to go, but they look great out of the gate. And I also want to ask you about a team that's currently unranked, but here in our area, here in Kansas City, and that's the Missouri Tigers. Of course, Coach Frank Haith currently serving a 5-game suspension. And Missouri, again, it looks like Haith is having to start over with some more talent this year, some more transfers. What do you see out of this Missouri team, and do you see this as kind of a fringe NCAA team like a lot of us do around here?
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. Obviously, Jordan Clarkson is a pretty special player. He's got size. He's got ability to score. He's got feel. Jabari Brown can score. And Ross is a tough matchup. I think one of the front court play guys has got to emerge. I think that's going to be really important. And can they get good, solid ball handling and point guard play? But they've got some pieces and they got some guys who can score, and that's going to give them a good opportunity to win games.
One of my favorite teams, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I want to ask you about them. You picked them to the Final Four last year. They always disappoint me, break my heart. But what do you think of the team this year? They lose Kelly Olynyk, Elias Harris, but they got Sam Dower, Shemek Karnowski, and transfer from Providence, Gerard Coleman. What do you see in them?
Yeah, Gerard Coleman. Yeah, I think that, they're going to be good. They got what they have is they got Pangos and they got Gary Bell. I mean, they got a veteran backcourt that makes shots. Two guys that can light it up on any given night. Karnowski is going to be a terrific passer. Reminds me of Arvydas Sabonis. Sam Bowers kind of paid his penance. It's kind of interesting. He's been patient. Now it's his time, and he's responded. So they're going to be a good basketball team. Not as deep as they've been in the past, but good.
Now, Coach, I know it's very early in the season. Rankings don't mean much, all of that. But as far as comparing the leagues this year, do you see a league that's going to be able to merge and become maybe one of the better leagues here as we go on? Maybe that'll produce more NCAA tournament teams. I mean, is there a league that really sticks out to you right now?
Well, I think the league that no one's talking about probably is, it'd be interesting to see the difference between the American and the Big West Conference, Big East Conference this year. The American, I look at that league, Connecticut's playing well. Cincinnati's a good basketball team, had a good win against NC State the other night. You've got Memphis, who is, as athletic guards as any in the country, and then you got Louisville. SMU is emerging. Actually, Houston has an extremely athletic team, so that league's kind of an interesting team to watch. Everyone's looking at the SEC. Took a little hit with LSU's loss at UMass, but UMass has got 2 good wins already, with a win over BC and now win over LSU. So, the SEC is a league that's emerging. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ole Miss and with Henderson, and just that they can rebound the ball. They lose 2 terrific rebounders from last year, but the ACC is going to be deep, very top-heavy, in my opinion. The Big 12, I think, is going to be a little down. The bottom of the Big 12, I think, is going to struggle, although Oklahoma looks like they're going to be pretty good, and maybe a little better than people thought. Their win against Alabama was a good win. And then, the Big 10 is going to be strong as always.
Coach, I have to admit, I loved you as coach at Virginia Tech. I think you accomplished so much there at a tough place to win, honestly, in that conference. But I want you to compare what your life was like then versus now as a broadcaster, because as good as a coach as you were, I think you really excel. I would love watching you on ESPN. Love this time of year to get your takes. How do you compare the 2 jobs? And I'm sure you're just loving life these days.
Yeah, it's 2 different jobs. I love what I'm doing. It's a great opportunity. The people at ESPN have been just absolutely terrific to me. You don't get the same high of coaching and creating, trying to help a young person get somewhere they can't get themselves, but it's really rewarding. If I get the best seat in the house for the best games, life's pretty good. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, Coach, cannot thank you enough for joining us. Did a great job. Your time is valuable. I know we're going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch up again down the road, and have a great season and enjoy all the games, my man.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Awesome to catch up with Seth Greenberg from ESPN. But when we come back, we are going to be talking Chiefs and Broncos with former Broncos wideout Rod Smith. And welcome back to the Outsider Sports Show here on The Hog, KKES-FM. And we are being joined currently by former Broncos receiver Rod Smith. Rod, how's it going in your world, buddy?
Absolutely fabulous. How's it going for you guys?
Well, not too bad. We got a 9-0 team getting ready to take on an 8-1 team there in Denver. Rod, let's not beat around the bush. We've got a rivalry going, and we've got a big game coming up on Sunday. Let's get after it. How do you see this game? How do you see this game coming out on Sunday night on NBC? Of course, the game of the week.
What do you mean? How do I see it coming out? I don't see it coming out but one way, and that's with the Broncos winning. I can tell you. I mean, am I supposed to see it any other way? I guess I'm blind to the fact that I believe we're one of the hottest teams in the league, but you definitely can't discount the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely, Rod, and that's why we had you on. We want that kind of stuff. That's what we're looking for, and I'll tell you what, you are certainly not off the mark there, because Denver playing some great football. Of course, right now, maybe the one question mark being the health of Peyton Manning. He's got the high ankle sprain. Do you think this is going to limit him, cause any problems for him going into this game?
You know what? Honestly, we'll find out real early. And the thing is, Peyton Manning's a professional man. He's played with that ankle sprain honestly for a while anyway. It just wasn't, didn't get re-aggravated, those types of things. And we just hope he can make it through the game. Him being out there is just a threat in itself. Even if he's limited, he's still better than like 98% of the quarterbacks in the league.
Is there any way the Chiefs can stop Demaryius Thomas and this bubble screen that he keeps taking to the house week in and week out?
Hopefully not. They can put 3 guys over there. Then we'll just throw it to Welker. We're throwing the
Exactly.
rubber and deckers. So we, honestly, you know what, man? I used to run that double screen, and I remember running against Kansas City. We used to call it jailbreak screen, and I ran it one time, got some real good yardage, and they called it again. And one of the defensive ends for the Chiefs hit me in the face so hard. I said, Coach, if you ever call it again, I'm gonna shoot you. Kansas City is one of those teams, they know how to defend those types of things, man. Honestly, I have to say this because I'm a big fan of Andy Reid, and I think he got a raw deal in Philly, and the way they kind of put the whole organization on him, the way Philly kind of fell off the last couple of years. But you know what? The glory days of Philly when Andy Reid was there and all the NFC championship games and all that stuff. And so I really like Andy Reid, and he's one of those coaches. When I played, one of those ones that I respected, and I was like, you know, him and Gruden were two guys. I said, if I had to go play somewhere else, those guys, because of who they were, would be hot nods. But luckily, I didn't ever leave.
The Chiefs have struggled in their run defense so far, gave up a lot of yards to the Buffalo Bills. Is that something the Broncos are going to look towards with Peyton Manning's ankle sprains? Do they trust Noshawn Moreno, Ronnie Hillman, and Monty Ball to get the running game going against Kansas City Chiefs?
You know what, man? In that game, honestly, everything is fair game. You know, if you have a weakness, they're going to try to exploit it. Kansas City has one of the best running games in the league, so you know they're going to try to exploit the Broncos defense. So, but you got to be able to run the ball in this type of game. It'll be a late game. We really don't know what the weather will be like. It should be fairly well. I mean, it was 73 degrees today. I actually had to top off to the bins today in November in Colorado. That's pretty good. So, but you never know. You know, you got to run the ball in the NFL. You can't just grab back and throw it 50 times. And they got to try to take advantage of that. And Noshawn, honestly, for me, I really questioned him early in his career, but that young man has stepped up big time, and I have to take my hat off to him. He's matured a lot in the last 2 years.
Let's talk about the Broncos defense, which I think has gotten only better as the season's gone on. The Kansas City Chiefs right now boasting the 29th ranked pass offense. We have Dwayne Bowe with all sorts of problems. Not sure what his availability is going to be. Looks like he will play, but that could be in question. With Denver's defense improving, how in the world is Alex Smith and Kansas City going to score enough points to keep up with this team?
Honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, I hope that's the case. You know, but you know what? You can't discount the fact that they're 9-0. They're finding a way to get it done, and I'm never going to knock an undefeated team. You just can't. I mean, because they're finding a way to get it done. I know statistically their defense is better than their offense, and but their offense is finding a way to put points up on the board and find a way to win games. And in the NFL, what most people don't understand is it's got to be a complete all three phases. You know, because to me, the special teams could be the determining factor when you have those close games late in the season. Your running game and your special teams will play a big part in it. And so, you know, their offense is Jamal Charles, they do the dangerous, man. I'm telling you, I didn't like when I played, and he was just getting there. He was coming into his own, and I was out of the league before he really went to tearing the league up. So, you know, getting the ball in that guy's hands is going to probably be a key, and we got to find a way to stop that.
Well, Tom Bahali and Justin Houston are licking their chops to go after Peyton Manning's high ankle sprain. Do you think that Peyton Manning will want his wide receivers spread out, go with a quick passing game and some draws, running plays, instead of keeping more people in for max protection?
You know, honestly, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what their game plans are. Matter of fact, I heard them call a play one time, and I was totally confused. But one thing I can tell you, one thing about having Peyton Manning in the huddle and at the line of scrimmage is he gets the offense in the better plays. You know, being a true veteran in this league, honestly, that knows how he knows defenses. You know, all the disguises that people come up with, he's seen them all, and being able to get a person, see if it's a blitz, and then get into a run the other way or a quick pass or something like that. That's one thing he's mastered, and so it'll be a good chess match between the offensive coordinators of the Broncos and the defensive coordinators of the Chiefs. It'll be a good chess match, but that's what the game is played for. That's why, you know, Sunday night here, you know, a little bit, probably over 24 hours from now, that things will be rocking and rolling, and the world will be watching.
Do you think it's important for the Chiefs cornerbacks, Brandon Flowers, Sean Smith, Marcus Cooper, to be physical and throw off the timing with these wide receivers and the Peyton Manning?
Honestly, in this league, that's what those guys do anyway. Those guys go against that all day. And so you can be as physical as you want, but if you make a mistake, you know for a fact the ball going over the top. And the Broncos are one of the best in the business of throwing the football. You just look at the numbers I was in the wide receiver meeting room about a month or so ago with those guys, and I think they had 29, 30, and 31 catches between Decker, Walker, and Thomas. And so it's almost like pick your poison. So, and those guys are good at getting off the jam. They go against it all the time, against their own defense. And so they're prepared for it. And all I can remember is Dale Carter and James Hasty, when we would get off the bus, those guys would bump and run me ahead all over the place. So Kansas City is known for that. I still to this day, that's all I used to think about. Go play Kansas City. We already know what we got to do is bump and run, 9 in the box. They said, if you don't beat us outside, we're going to lose. Simple as that.
And that's what I was going to ask you about next, Rod. Of course, you won 2 Super Bowls in Denver, played so many times against the Kansas City Chiefs. Was just going to kind of get some of your memories of playing in this rivalry. I know there are lots of big games between the teams, including a playoff game in '97. And just give some of your memories going back. And, of course, obviously, James Hasty, Dale Carter. We don't have to bring those guys up again. I know you're probably still in your nightmares, apparently. But what else comes to mind? I know there was a lot of good moments for you guys, too.
Yeah, but hey, remember '97 we won that game, went on to win the Super Bowl, so I remember that. One thing about Kansas City though for me, because I played college ball in Missouri, right down the street, two plus hours away in Joplin, Missouri, and I got a phone call. I'm just going to tell the story. Y'all can edit this and cut it out, whatever you want to do. I got a phone call from the Chiefs, when they was doing the draft. Of course, I didn't get drafted, and one of their personnel people told me that. I went to a small school and I wasn't fast enough, and this and that. And honestly, it hurt my feelings. And they went with a guy named Chris Penn, is who they drafted from Tulsa that year. And I think he might have played in the league about 4 years. And I honestly took it personal. Every time we played Kansas City, it was a certain spot I would stand on the field, and I would stand over there and I stare at the guy, because I remember the guy. I'm not going to say his name, but I remember the guy who was one of their scouts. I remember that guy, and I talked to him for every game. After the game, I just shake my head. I stare and shake my head. I still remember having 7 straight 100-yard games against him. I think I should be in the Ring of Fame in Kansas City. I'm just joking.
Can't let that happen, Rod. We're sorry.
I'm just joking, but you know what, man? It was one of those rivalries, though, that for me, because it was like a home game to me, because all my friends from college would come up, and I really thought I was going to get a chance to be at Kansas City Chiefs, and then all of a sudden. They told me I was too slow, and I took it personal, man. And we probably split in my career. I don't know. We probably split games though, because we had some battles and we had great numbers, and we lose. I think out of those 7 straight 100-yard games, we lost 4 of the games, or maybe 5. And so I had fond memories there. That's one of those places that I love to watch our rookies when we go there and play, and that crowd is so loud and it's a big factor. You think about that, 3 weeks from now, they'll be playing again.
Yep.
In Kansas City. So that's the part about the NFL that's so cool, man. It's almost like we're going to play them once, and then 2 weeks, and then we play them again. So, the Broncos' schedule is getting a lot tougher, and the Chiefs' schedule is going to get a lot tougher because, November is when you get to position yourself for the playoffs and those types of things.
Well, Rod, you had a wonderful career. And, even though you weren't in Kansas City, of course, to be fair, you had John Elway and Chris Penn had Steve Bono and Elvis Gerback. So, maybe it evened out in the end. Who knows? But you had a wonderful career. And I tell you what, Rod, it's going to be a big one coming up this Sunday, and we're really looking forward to it. What's your prediction? If you have to give us a score, let's hear that, because we got to get a score here, and we got to hold your feet to the fire.
Well, if I had to give a score, is this with a fully healthy Peyton Manning or a little bit limping Peyton Manning? A fully healthy Peyton Manning is 38-17. A little bit limping Peyton Manning is 30.
Well, this defense hasn't given up more than 17 points in the game. How do you think they're going to fare on Sunday night with Peyton Manning? Do you think they'll be able to hold him down? I mean, it sounds like you think Peyton Manning's just going to march right down the field on this top defense.
One thing, that defense is very good. I'm not knocking them, but I just think our offense is better. It's as simple as that. I mean, these guys they're always in good plays, and they're not making a ton of mistakes. And the mistakes that they made, the Broncos defenses came alive big time. And I think Jack Del Rio now is really got those guys playing very, very well. And that's how you win football games. That's how you win championships. It's going to be on defense. So, the offense can sputter a little bit, but if your defense keeps it close and keeps you in the game, you got a chance.
Rod, we love having you. Can't thank you enough for coming on the radio and talking to 2 Kansas City guys. It's about as friendly as it can get here. Us and you, I mean, that's about as good as it gets between Chiefs and Denver people, right?
Absolutely. Ain't no love lost, man. I have fun, I got a bunch of friends who grew up in Kansas. They're all, they all chopping everything. This is probably, out of all the games besides that 97 playoff game, this is probably the biggest game played against these two teams, even when I play. I mean, we had some big games, but for the records to be what they are right now, and everything 9-0 and 8-1, I mean, this is like perfect. I mean, this would be it's honestly a playoff game is what's going to happen on Sunday.
It is a playoff game. It's going to determine certainly the division and who's going to have home field advantage. So it's a big one, Rod. We can't thank you enough for joining us. Good luck to those Broncos out there, and we look forward to catching up with you again in a couple weeks when we play again. We'll do it all over.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, Rod, we appreciate it.
Take care, man.
Thanks a lot for joining us, Rod. Had a little fun with Mr. Smith. He's got some memories playing the Chiefs. He likes the Broncos. Do you agree? Do you like the Denver Broncos in this game as well, Noah?
I do. I originally, earlier in the week, even before the Broncos played the Chargers, I had it 34-20, the Broncos winning. But with Peyton Manning's ankles now in question, I mean, I have this a closer game. I have it 24-20 with the Broncos still winning.
That's crazy. To me, I think this game's all about Denver. If they're able to do what they've been doing all season, if they're able to keep this Chiefs defense on the ropes, which is not going to be easy to do. The Chiefs, have a top 10 defense in this league, number one in scoring defense. They have not given up 17 points yet, and that's the most they've given up is 17. I still like Denver. I like Peyton Manning to distribute the ball, to use the short passing game, to set up deep balls to Demaryius Thomas. I think that it's going to be all Denver, and I think it's going to be 31-10. I think this Chiefs team is going to get exposed badly in this game. I'm fearful of this.
Yeah, if Peyton Manning was healthy, I'm right there with you. If we can score those 20 points, I think Jamal Charles gets a long run. I think maybe a tip pass. Eric Johnson takes it back for a touchdown, couple field goals. So I definitely don't have Alex Smith leading lots of touchdown drives there, throwing the ball deep or anything like that. So I think we could get to 20 points with their suspect defense.
What a huge game this is. The Chiefs, if you want to think about the future, the Chiefs could be 10-0 leaving Denver, a 2-game lead in the division with 6 to go, and my gosh, how the tables would turn at that point, because the Chiefs would be far and away the 1 seed in the AFC, and you'd be talking about everybody having to come through Arrowhead through these playoffs. That's huge.
That is huge, and you have Denver. If we do get to 10-0, Denver then goes on the road to New England, on the road back here to Kansas City. I mean, we could get a real huge lead in this thing and just sit our starters.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this game's going to be about the Denver Broncos. I think Kansas City having to go on the road in this environment, I think it's Denver's time. Denver, I think, is the better team. Kansas City has feasted off quarterbacks who are subpar, who are backups, teams that are winning with losing records. And I think this is the game that it finally catches up to Kansas City. I think Kansas City will still finish 13-3, second in the division. Going to still be a wild card team, obviously, and have a chance to win a playoff game. But right now, I think this is going to be all Denver. And we are going to be talking more about this game after the break with James Merilatt from MileHighSports.com. So be sure to join us here in just a moment. And we are joined currently by James Merilatt from MileHighSports.com. James, a little bit of a big game this weekend, huh, my man?
We were having that debate today of whether or not this is the biggest game of the year. I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious it is. And, some people are saying, there's a big game every week. But, you get two teams that combine 17-1. It's hard to argue that that's the biggest game of the year.
Well, and of course, both teams have kind of steamrolled through subpar competition en route to this. And let's talk about Peyton Manning first. What are you hearing as far as his health goes? I know he didn't practice at a couple times this week. He's looking to practice late. What's it looking like for him right now?
There's definitely concern around town based on the fact that Peyton didn't practice today. I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, he's got a high ankle sprain, and obviously that's something that is tough to shake off. I mean, I think if the Broncos were honest, they would say, hey, this is something that's probably going to bother him the rest of the season. So there's no reason to put any, undue wear and tear on a Wednesday. Peyton Manning, the guy that probably doesn't need one more practice session to get ready for a game. He just needs to try and get healthy. So he'll be out there on Sunday. He's not a guy that's particularly mobile anyway. He'll be even less mobile. But, I don't think it's anything that's going to be a huge issue, but definitely something that people around here are talking a lot about, that's for sure.
Do you think the Broncos organization and their fans aren't really worried about Peyton Manning's health issue right now as they look across the sideline and see the other quarterback is Alex Smith?
Well, I think if this game was nothing but quarterback versus quarterback, it would be a fairly one-sided affair. I don't think people are looking at it that way, though. I mean, it's funny to me how down on this team people tend to be around here, given the fact that they're 8-1. And I mean, the Broncos have gotten to a point where it's all about style points, and if they don't win in prime fashion and win going away, people are upset. I mean, they go on the road, win a game by 8. The game they led by 22 at one point in the second half, and people are upset. So, I think they look at it and, there's a little bit of pessimism, believe it or not, around town, and they start looking at all the things that Kansas City brings to the table other than Alex Smith. Can they stop Jamal Charles? Can they block the Chiefs' defensive front four and keep Peyton Manning upright, especially after last week where he took some more hits? So, yeah, I mean, Alex Smith maybe doesn't scare everybody in Denver, but I think the rest of the Chiefs roster probably does.
Well, how in the world do the Chiefs stop Peyton Manning, slow him down? They've only allowed 17 or fewer points this season to all the teams they played. And how does Alex Smith keep up with Peyton Manning in that offense?
Well, I think the way to slow down the Denver offense is something we started I guess it was the Jacksonville game originally. Certainly, Indianapolis did it, and San Diego did it a little bit last week. And I think it's twofold. I think number one, the best way to stop Peyton Manning, and it's the old cliche, but you got to keep him on the sideline. So I think Kansas City's going to want to play ball control offense, try and put together long drives. That plays well into their hand. I mean, Alex Smith, everybody hates this term, but it's accurate. He's a game manager. He's very, very good at it. He doesn't make mistakes. He moves the chains and he burns clock. When you have a running game with a guy like Jamal Charles, you can do that. So I think that's the number one thing is the Chiefs need to keep him keep Peyton Manning on the sideline. But the second thing is, and this is what has people around Denver worried about, is you got to generate pressure out of your front four. If you try and blitz Peyton Manning too much, he'll kill you. Well, with the front four that the Chiefs have, they can certainly do that. And then you got to get physical with the Broncos receivers. And I think that's something that Kansas City can do as well. So, I think that from a matchup standpoint, that's really the key way to look at it, as opposed to, hey, who's the better team? That depends on who they happen to face and kind of how the schedule breaks down. But I think in terms of matchups, there's a lot of things you can look at and say at least Kansas City defense versus Broncos offense that are in Kansas City's favor. I think there's some things here that matchup-wise are troublesome for the Broncos.
James, what is the perception of this Chiefs team from the Denver side? Because a lot of national media, you get a lot of talk around here in Kansas City anyway, that the way that Denver is winning games is the right way. The way Kansas City is winning games, that's scary. That doesn't hold up. So what is the perception from the Denver side, especially given the fact that Denver's defense had struggled through the first 5 or 6 games? Is the perception of the Kansas City Chiefs that they can't score enough points to keep up with this? We're going to do what we do. Our offense is going to win the game.
I think there's certainly a contingent of people in Denver that are similar to the national sort of narrative when it comes to the Chiefs. Of the Chiefs are a fraud, for lack of a better term. And what I mean by that, what people are talking about is, who have they beaten? Looking at the schedule, and not so much just the teams, but it's the quarterbacks they face. It's and you guys know this better than anybody. It's
sure.
The backup of the week that the Chiefs get faced. That's not their fault. I mean, if they were 7-2 and had faced a bunch of backups, well, then people may be able to throw stones. But they're 9-0. They've beaten everybody on their schedule. But when you go into Buffalo and you need 2 defensive touchdowns to beat Jeff Toole, when you beat Case Keenum in his first ever start, when you beat Jason Campbell in his first or second start in the last 2 years, people start to have, I think, somewhat justifiable questions. I think when you're a team that was 2-14 and all of a sudden you're 9-0, people are going to look at that and go, well, how legitimate is this? And I think the fact that the Chiefs have played, relatively not only easy schedule, but they've gotten some breaks in terms of when they have faced people. They've either played them at home, case in point Eli Manning, Tony Romo, or they faced backup. I think that's a legitimate question, but I don't think it has anything to do in terms of a right way or wrong way to play. I don't think Bronco fans and the Denver media look at it that way of, hey, it's a passing league, and if you're not putting up huge numbers, you're not legitimate. I think winning games 17-14, it is plenty legitimate. I don't think people look at it that way. I think they look at it, and, listen, if the Chiefs had gone into Kansas City and beaten gone into New Orleans and beaten the Saints and did it with 2 defensive touchdowns, people would have looked at that and said, that's pretty legit. When you go in and do it to Jeff Toole, people are understandably skeptical of that. I don't think that's unfair, necessarily even disrespectful to be that way.
Other than Brandon Albert, this offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs has really struggled, especially Eric Fisher. In Denver, is Sean Phillips and Von Miller licking their chops to go up against this line, especially Eric Fisher and Von Miller matchup?
Well, that's the one everybody in town keeps pointing at. I tend to be the guy who, I keep trying to temper everybody when it comes to Von Miller. I haven't seen anything out of Von Miller, guys, since his return from the 6-game suspension that leads me to believe he's the same guy he was a year ago. Doesn't have the same explosiveness, doesn't seem to be nearly as dominant. I mean, he was a guy a year ago who could take over games from a defensive position, which is hard to do as a pass rusher. I mean, he was, to use a guy you're familiar with, he was Derek Thomas-esque in that he would just dominate at times. He hasn't done that at all. I mean, he's made a play or two here and there, but I mean, for the most part, every game he's been blocked by one guy. The opposing offenses haven't had to double team him particularly often. And last week, the Chargers had 2 or 3 offensive linemen go down in the course of the game, and the Broncos weren't able to exploit that all that much. Certainly Von Miller wasn't able to exploit that. So, I've been telling people all week that, look, if the Chargers backup tackle can block Von Miller one-on-one, I think Fisher will certainly have a fine time doing it. I'm sure they're looking at stop trying to think that, hey, this is maybe the coming out party for Von Miller, but he's a guy who put on 10, 15 pounds during the six weeks that he was off. Everybody said it was nothing but muscle. I didn't buy that. I mean, if you're an all-pro player, why would you change your body makeup? Why would you go put on 15 pounds if you're a guy that relies on speed? It struck me as a guy who spent his 6 weeks off getting out of shape, and I don't think he's back in the game shape yet. So I think the Chiefs may catch a break on that with a little bit of a struggling offensive line. They're going to get Von Miller before he's back into form. Now, 2 weeks from now, when Denver comes to Kansas City, I think he'll be closer into form. I think the guy we'll see at the end of the year will be truer and closer to the real Von Miller.
James, we talked about some of the quarterbacks the Chiefs had faced, and I hate to tell you this, but there's some Chiefs fans that are kind of wanting to get a piece of you because not us, of course, but an article from Mile High Sports talking kind of calling into question the Chiefs and their road to 9-0, and we talked about that about the quarterback situation, and actually it was a really good article. I enjoyed it myself. But Chiefs fans, they don't want to look in the mirror. They don't want to. I guess it's hard for fans to look at their own teams in the mirror and try to dissect that. I get that, but is there anything else aside from maybe the competition that the Chiefs have faced that led to that article and kind of what you guys were how you guys were framing that as far as some other problems the Chiefs may have as far as getting through the rest of the season unscathed?
Well, I certainly think it's a matter of looking at the path to 9-0 and how legitimate is that. And like I said, they've got some good wins, and there's some like opponents. I mean, these teams have played. By the end of the year, they'll play a very similar schedule, but. Both teams have played Dallas. Broncos had to go to Dallas. Cowboys came to Arrowhead, and the Chiefs only won by a point. I tend to look at it as, I don't care if you win by 20 or you win by a point, a win's a win. But they won that game by a point. Didn't have to go to the Meadowlands to face Eli Manning. They got him at home. I think that's some of the reasons people look at it. And then it's also, look, if you're winning games, you're losing 10-3 on the road at Buffalo against Jeff Toole. It's about to become 13-3, 17-3. And you get a 100-yard pick six to turn that game around. Part of that is playing good defense, and I think I'm a believer in that. But I think defensive scores tend to be the byproduct of more luck than anything else, and that luck tends to run out. Prime example: 2006 Chicago Bears. They were this opportunistic defense. If memory serves, it was Mike Brown, their safety, who had multiple touchdowns that season. They weren't able to repeat that the next year. They were able to being in the Super Bowl to not being in the postseason. You see this time and time again with teams that are defensively strong on defense, and that's sort of how they're based, whether it's the 01 way for 1 year, can you do it again? So, to me, I think that's the other part of it is the way in which they're winning. There tends to be a little bit of a luck element that people are attaching to it. Look, you come in and you beat Denver on their home field in front of a national TV audience, that shuts people up and answers that question. So to me, that's the key of it. You know, you and I can talk about it all week, fans can talk about it, people can write articles and put into question whether or not the Chiefs are legitimate. We're going to find our answer on Sunday night. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely will, James. Cannot thank you enough for your time today. MileHighSports.com, of course, is the website. We look forward to it, and in a couple weeks we'll do it all over again. So here's to a couple good games, and good luck to the Broncos the rest of the way, my man.
All right, appreciate that, man. Good luck on Sunday.
Thanks a lot. You too.
See you.
Bye. And a big thanks to James for joining us, talking about this game. I can't get enough. I'll tell you what, I'm excited for this game. I'm nervous for this game. Sunday Night Football, the lights are going to be on. The nation's going to be watching. The Chiefs, it's put up or shut up time.
Yeah, and it's always a big game, Sunday Night Football. The game gets flexed, a night game. It's going to be huge. Andy Reid, Peyton Manning, Alex Smith. It's going to be a real test for us to see where we really stand.
When they talk about the age-old adage being defense wins championships, the theory behind that is that good defenses will stop great offenses. Is this a time where we're going to be able to test that theory? Because this is about as polar opposite of teams as you will find in the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is time to show what we can do. I mean, you've got Justin Houston, Tamba Hali, Dontari Poe, Derek Johnson. I mean, that front seven is really going to have to get after Peyton Manning, hurry him, harass him, and hopefully stop him.
Well, and another thing about this is we talked about Peyton Manning's injury with each of our Bronco guests, of course, and is that going to be, how big of a factor is that going to be actually when it's game time? Are we going to even notice that he has this injury? I mean, he's not a mobile quarterback as it is. He sits back there. He picks teams apart. Are we going to even really think about this injury during this game at all, unless the Chiefs are able to pound him and knock him out?
I don't think so. I mean, at the beginning of the game, I think he's going to be good to go. He's going to have the ankle taped up, might get an injection of some sort. But if we get some hits on him, some low hits around that ankle and keep knocking him down, then I think you'll see some problems with Peyton because it is his right ankle that's injured with the high ankle sprain. So that's his plant foot. It's going to be tough to plant on that securely and get the ball down the field accurately for Peyton Manning if we get hits on him and kind of re-injure that ankle.
Well, this game is so big in that the AFC playoffs are going to be determined by this game and really by the next two games because the teams will play twice in 3 weeks. But if Kansas City goes and wins this game, gets to 10-0, all of a sudden you're looking at being the number one seed in the AFC in the playoffs, and that is huge. So much opportunity for this Chiefs team. Can they take it? Is this a team that's ready for that type of pressure, or is this just going to be a team that finishes 4-3 down the stretch, makes it to 13-3 as a wild card team, and then go from there?
Well, I mean, we don't play that many hard teams down the stretch. The Colts are falling apart. The Chargers are falling apart. Really, it's just the 2 games against the Broncos. I mean, I don't know if this team's really going to disappoint us or not live up to expectations because I don't really know how high the expectations are if you're looking at this thing realistically. This offense is awful. I mean, it's 29th in pass offense, 25th in total offense. I just don't expect them to go into Denver and win this game. If they do, then expectations will change. They beat Denver. If we can get home field advantage in the playoffs, that's exactly what we do need for a small chance to get to that Super Bowl game and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, and let's talk about the rest of the AFC because you have Chiefs, Broncos, and then I'm going to throw in the New England Patriots. Don't look now, they're 7-2 and playing well. Tom Brady, who was much maligned to start the season, is starting to really put it together. Rob Gronkowski's back. The running game is getting going with Stephen Ridley. Danny Amendola's back.
Shane Vereen's coming back. Aqib Talib on defense is coming back. I mean, they're getting a lot of healthy pieces. Shane Vereen is their kind of Marshall Faulk back. He can do it all. He can run. He can catch. He's good in pass protection. He can get down the field and run routes like a wide receiver. That's really big for them because they've been missing that because they have Ridley and LeGarrette Blount and Brandon Bolden who aren't that kind of versatile back. They're more just pound it up the middle running backs, not really go out into the flat, catch balls, run routes, and that sort of thing.
I think it's very likely that New England's going to be the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. I don't want to find myself in New England. I don't want to find myself in Denver as a Chiefs fan either, but New England, Denver, if the Chiefs are a wild card team, those are two places you don't want to wind up going, taking on Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, basically bringing a knife to a gunfight, as far as the quarterbacks go in that situation. But other than that, the AFC is a mess.
Yes, it is. You've got the Bengals who are reeling with injuries, and Andy Dalton's starting to turn the ball over just every single snap, it seems like. I mean, he's fumbling the ball against the Ravens. He had 3 picks against the Ravens when they're trying to come back. Things just look like a mess there. And you've got the Indianapolis Colts who look lost without Reggie Wayne. They've got T.Y. Hilton, and now they're bringing up a kid named Derek Rogers from the practice squad. They're looking for any answers because Darius Hayward-Bay, Griff Whalen, who played with Andrew Luck at Stanford, and Brazel is another receiver that they have. They're giving him nothing. Kobe Fleener's not good for much. Trent Richardson can't get going. He's apparently more interested in making orgy tapes. So that came out that one of the girls, I guess, from that is trying to sell that tape to TMZ or anybody who will want it. So Trent Richardson's
for sale?
With that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, guys, it's going to be a great weekend. I hope everybody enjoys every bit of it because here at the Outsider Sports Show, we are so in tune. We like to take all of our fans' requests, hear all of our fan feedback. So please find us on Facebook, Twitter, however you have to find us. Just search for the Outsider Sports Show, and you're going to find us on there, guys. We love to hear all the feedback, good or bad, and we just appreciate you guys joining us here on The Hog. I hope a great weekend is in store for each and every one of you watching all these great sporting events. Noah, there's not a better time to be a sports fan than right here, right now. We're so appreciative to be here.
That we are. I mean, I'm going to be sitting under my blanket watching that Sunday night football game, Chiefs Broncos, with my $45 hot chocolate that I got from Rod Smith. Thank you very much.
Thanks to all our guests, Seth Greenberg, Rod Smith, and James Merilatt for joining us. Have a great weekend. Hog up, baby!